Hi everyone, my name is Callie Davis, and today we are going to be talking about a business's first priority, their employees. And so with that, I used to be a manager for a prominent tech company in Utah, and so I know my fair share of what it means to treat employees well and how it is to be treated as an employee. So we're going to talk about two things today primarily, and Riley is going to talk about communication, and today I'm going to talk about benefits. So first with benefits, we're going to be talking about having a livable wage. So this isn't necessarily to say that having a livable wage means that you're going to pay people who work at McDonald's $30 an hour, but it means that employees who are paid fairly for what they do are more likely going to stay at that company and going to be loyal to that company. That also means that employees are going to have a better spirit about them in the workplace and have more energy when they come to work because they understand that they don't have to go to a second or a third job. They are able to work on that one specific job 100% because they are able to pay for their lives by doing that. And so next, we are going to talk about health. So with this comes with healthcare as well as health incentives. And so what I mean by that is healthcare, we typically hear in the business setting when it comes to giving our employees benefits. That means dental care, vision care sometimes, and then obviously going to the doctor or going to the hospital and being able to afford the care that you're given here in America. And so with that, healthcare is very important because you want employees to not only be healthy, but you want them to be able to take care of themselves when they are sick. And so with healthcare, they are able to afford being sick and then spend less time away from work. And then healthcare moves on to health in general. And what I mean by that is we want employees to have those incentives like gym memberships or health goals. And so they are focused more on being healthy mentally and physically instead of just not trying to be sick. When you have employees that work out regularly, especially when they're not worried about having to fork over the cost of paying for a gym membership or having to take time off work to go to the gym, then they are going to be healthier, they're going to be more energetic, and they're going to be more willing to stay with your company. And lastly, we're going to talk about incentives. And so with the gym membership, that could be an incentive, but we're also going to be talking about other incentives like pizza parties if you hit your sales goal, or maybe a daycare for employees that have children. Other things like that are good incentives, as well as things like having unlimited sick time off. And with that, that means that if you have unlimited sick time off, your employees are less likely to stay sick because they can take the time to rest and get themselves better. And that also means you're not going to be worrying about people coming into work sick or people who are giving off germs to the other employees around you. And that is going to make your team more productive in general. So we're going to listen and watch a video about incentives and companies with incentives.
The top performing businesses in the new economy, and I mean that statistically. So the top 20% of businesses, and that is calibrated by year-over-year sales growth as well as customer retention, that those organizations were significantly more likely to use non-cash reward and recognition as a part of their human resources toolkit. Those organizations that did use non-cash reward and recognition, interestingly, had 3 times the year-over-year sales revenue increases compared to those that did not. In non-cash reward and recognition programs have a well-documented long history in helping employees focus on non-core job behaviors and be very successful in them as well.
So, as she stated, the best companies have non-cash incentives in their HR portfolio. And so if you are wondering, well, I want my company to get big and be better, then you might want to follow those companies and follow in their footsteps with their incentive programs. And so with that, with the benefits of living wage, of health, and of incentives, we are able to create a better work environment for our employees. And with that, Riley is going to explain his portion of the project, which is communication. Over to Riley.
Thank you so much, Callie. Like Callie said, I'm Riley Smith. A little bit about myself. I am a customer service rep at CuveraGlobal.com. It's located in Salt Lake City. And so I deal a lot with the communication side of employees and having to talk to your employer and managers and stuff like that. And so I know when it can go bad and when it can go good and what that looks like. Just starting off, our 3 topics are listening to concerns, do not overwork your employees, and listen to your employees' ideas. All 3 of these are really important, and I want to share a little bit of a personal story. This is a story about my cousin. He works for the Orms Parks Department, and we hang out. We spend time to each other every day. We talk every day. We're just really close. And he's worked there for 2 years. And the first year, he hated his job so bad. He didn't want to go to work. Every time we would hang out, he would say, "I don't want to go to work." And I'm not saying work is always going to be easy. You're always going to want to go to work, but the reasons he wasn't wanting to go to work shouldn't be happening in the workplace. He wouldn't want to go to work because his boss and his employers and stuff and his managers would not listen to him, and all of the people above him, even if because he was a newbie, they would just dump all of their responsibilities onto him. So he's having to do everyone's dirty work. And then he would go talk to his boss about it, and his boss wouldn't change anything. He'd be like, "Oh, well, you just got here," and stuff like that. And he would say, "Oh, we need to do this different," when people would complain about the parks department and his boss, and he would go talk to his boss, and he felt like nothing would change, and he just hated his job. But then this year, they got new management, luckily, and he totally changed his perspective on what a good work environment does for your employees. He would go to his boss, or his boss would even come to him and say, "Hey, what can we do better? How can we change things up?" And he also could go to his boss and say, "I need to go on a family vacation. Like, I have a family vacation I'd really want to go on." And his boss would say, "Okay, like that's okay. You can do that." And their communication would be in sync compared to his old boss, where he felt like he couldn't communicate anything. And so that leads us a little bit into listening to an employee's concerns, because employees obviously have to deal with a lot of employees have to deal with the bad of the company. They have to, like me, I'm a customer service rep. I have to listen to people that had problem with our product and complain. And so the employees have to be able to list their concerns and what's going on and what the problems are happening throughout the company. And so that's an important one. If you can't list your concerns to your boss or your manager or whoever your employer is, whoever you look up to, then that's a big problem in the workplace. Another one that I haven't talked a lot about is overworking. And I'm going to watch a video really quick to explain that one.
Well, working a full-time job might actually be bad for your brain.
All right, there we go.
That's according to research coming out of Melbourne, as reported by the BBC. Researchers found the ideal work week was a mere 25 hours. The catch, working less than or more than 25 hours is hazardous for brain function, with excessively long hours causing tiredness and stress. The study analyzed 3,000 women and 3,000 men from Australia, testing them on reading comprehension, number and letter matching, and reciting numbers backwards. Those working about 25 hours hours a week tested better. The study also found people who were unemployed or working long hours tested 15% lower than those putting in that ideal 25 hours of work each week, which has implications if you're in retirement. Maybe not working isn't the best thing for your brain after all. So if you're 40 or older, you'll want 4-day weekends if you want to keep your brain happy. Great for your brain, maybe not so great for your paycheck.
All right. So I think that video does a great job. It might be an exaggeration that overworking can kill us, but as we saw in that video, that overworking does stuff to your brain. It damages your brain. Your brain can't handle you working 60 hours weeks. We hear people say they work 60-hour weeks, and we go, what are you doing to yourself? Why are you doing that? It's not healthy on your body or anything like that. And so, like, for instance, I worked part-time, and I still work about 20 to 25 hours a week, and that's about the normal. So yeah, we're not saying you necessarily have to cut back all your hours and stuff like that, but overworking yourself and bosses that won't let you work okay hours and hours that you are not gonna obviously take damage from is very, very important when you don't want to be overworked. Just like my cousin was able to take days off when he needed them. I think that's how employees need to be treated in the workplace. And then the last one is just listening to ideas. I think this might be the most important one, because a boss, unless a boss works his way up to his top role, he doesn't see necessarily all the things that happen in the day-to-day workplace. He doesn't know exactly what's going on, what works, what doesn't work, and stuff like that. And so us as employees, we see everything happening, and we see the day-to-day stuff, and so we know what works and doesn't work. And so we need to bring that up with our boss or our manager and say, this is what's working, and give him ideas. We need to be able to have that communication, and so your company can get to where it needs to be, or the best it can be. And so that's a big part about listening to ideas, because if you don't have that communication, then that's not going to be in a very effective business. And then, so this is the end of it. We're just going to do our takeaways of today's presentation. Like Callie's benefits, livable wages. That's really, really important, because we need to be able to live comfortably. We can't be getting ripped off. And going back into health, like she said, we need to feel healthy. We need to not be worrying about our health. We need to be going to work. We don't need to be worrying about all those type of things and incentives. I think it's almost ridiculous that if I do a lot better than someone else in sales, that some people don't have good incentives to reward their employees. If I'm a great employee, then my business or my company or whoever I work for needs to show for it. They need to show that I'm a valuable person on their team. And then just like the few things I went over, listening to our concerns, it's a big thing, because there's a lot of problems in the world. We need to be able to talk to someone about it and fix problems that way. Do not overwork. Like I said, we might not always have control of our hours, but just know that overworking yourself is not a healthy environment, and it definitely damages your brain. And then listening to ideas, like I said, it might be the most important one, because you're doing the day-to-day work, and so you know what works and doesn't. And with all these together, now at the start of the presentation, you might have thought, oh, why are employees getting treated differently, or it doesn't matter that much. But now that you've seen why it matters, then we can all start making a difference, whether it be in your new job, be looking for these takeaways, or whether it be the job in your now and you're saying, I need definitely some of those in my job. We need to start applying them in our day-to-day lives and in our workforce in general. And so that's the takeaways of today of our presentation of why employees don't necessarily get treated right all the time.